Can you tell I'm hitting buttons here? And oh yeah, we're off to a great start. Hi everybody, how you doing? It's Friday. Is that my excuse? There's no good excuse. I was just hitting the wrong button. I've been a part of a meeting all morning, and I've been sitting here, and I was grabbing a cup of coffee, and plopped back down in the chair. And how's everybody doing? What a busy day today. I hope you're having a great day. And welcome to Daily Distinction. So glad you're here. Thank you for taking time to be here. I appreciate it. Hey, Darcy, happy Friday. Thank you for sharing that. Hope everything is great where you are. Imagine that, Brian. 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, noon Pacific. Imagine. It's always great having you here, Brian. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. There's so much going on in the world today. I've been a part of a meeting all morning here with I'm part of a group called Speakers Roundtable. And I've been a part of this group for many, many years, and it never fails to inspire me and broaden my thinking. We've got people like Dr. Nito Quabain, my great friend, who is the president of High Point University. He's on the board of banking giant BB&T, which they merged with SunTrust, and so now it's the sixth largest financial institution in the United States, and he's on the board of directors and the executive committee of that, and CEO of High Point University, president of High Point. Jason Dorsey, an amazing guy. You may have not heard of Jason Dorsey, but he is, I have no doubt, the world's leading expert on millennials and Gen Z and what that means to business in the marketplace. Just a fascinating thinker. Jay Baer, who is my pal, has been here with us before with Convince and Convert. Mark Sanborn, my longtime friend, who wrote the multi-million selling book, The Fred Factor. Anyway, so we're all on this call. And you talk about Dan Burrus, one of the world's leading futurists, is part of the group. I can just go on and on. Steve Spangler, that you've seen probably many times on Ellen DeGeneres, and he has his own line of science education for young students. He's just amazing. So anyway, we're talking about change. And so change is really, really on my mind and in the forefront today, because good grief, it's just amazing what's going on. So that's part of what we want to talk about today is change and how we handle that and how we understand times of change. Oh, sounds beautiful, Charles. I'll tell you, let me look. Right now it's 110, not 110 time-wise, 110 temperature-wise right outside here. So the beautiful foothills sounds great. Hey, Janice, great to see you here today. I bet it's a little bit more humid, though, where you are. Maybe not the temperature, but the humidity, I'm guessing in Houston is a heck of a lot more than what we got in Vegas. Yes, there we go. We're going to seem like avoid, yes, like the desire to avoid not being understood. Is that right? I guess that's a way to put it. Yeah, thank you. I hope you do, Brian. We're going to talk about change, but let me hit on that for just a moment, if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. We're kind of doing a soft opening. The big open is going to be Monday for the course on post-pandemic events, but it is now open for registration. And some folks have asked, who is it for? And thank you for saying that, Brian, because you led right into this. I mean, meeting professionals and speakers are the first that you think about, but financial advisors who often have meetings for clients or prospective clients, they'll do a retirement seminar. You're not going to get a bunch of people in a restaurant to talk to them about retirement anymore. Sales professionals. One of the really interesting things I had somebody write me last night was that it's a sales professional, pharmaceutical sales. And one of the things that she was saying was, one of the strange things is, even if the company lets her travel to meet, maybe the company that she's calling on won't let her in the front door, because you've got to have you've got to have a test. And if you don't get the test back quickly enough, then they won't let you in. And so many of those meetings are going virtual because you're not going to spend the money to travel somewhere just to be turned away at the door because the security won't let you in to see the person you're supposed to see. So anyone who has face-to-face meetings of any kind, it's what it's made for. How do we change face-to-face? So post-pandemic events is now open for you. And by the way, if you put in the code Just put in the code distinct50. You can take $50 off because you watch Daily Distinction. So distinct50 is the code when you check out to get $50 off for Daily Distinction. All right, so let's talk about changes in the world, and let's talk about what's going on, and how do we understand, and how do we figure this out. Yes, Mark will be presenting at UBS. In fact, Brian, Mark Sanborn's book, The Fred Factor, sold over 1 million copies. I mean, it's just unbelievable, and he's just fantastic. And Dan Burris, his YouTube videos on the future just knock you out. We got to get Dan on the show here sometime. He'd love to do it. He spends half the year, a little over half the year, in Wisconsin, which is where he is now. He has a home in Wisconsin, which is where he's from. And then he has a home in San Diego, and he goes back and forth. And this is kind of his travel time. But anyway, Charles, will there be an ongoing program? It's a 6-week program that you just go through in 6 weeks, because folks were saying they wanted to have specific solutions, and they didn't want to be, take forever. So what I'm doing is giving you a 6-week program. Whenever you stay, it's built so it'll deliver as you go. So we'll have a Zoom call on it, and we'll do some other things. But yes, it's a 6-week program. Ted, great to see you here. Yeah, Janice, I assumed it was a little more humid there. Yeah, it's being on camera. Yeah, Toastmasters, presentation skills. That's what it's all about, Brian. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. So part of what we were talking about is, as we go through these times of change, one of the concerns that we have is what happens? What happens next? How do we understand what we're going through? How do we understand where all of this is leading? And so the question came up, and you got a university president sitting as a part of it, and the question came up that, well, if we just knew more, we would understand more, right? That would help us deal with change. If we just knew more, we would understand more. Coronavirus being a great example, not being political about this, this should not be this should be something else. When it first started, we didn't know as much about it as we do now. That's why it's called a novel coronavirus. It's novel, it's new, right? So as we know more, do we as the public understand more? My bet is we could do a survey of everybody that watches this, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching on the replay, and the vote would be pretty split. There'd be a lot of us that say, yeah, okay, we know more, so we do understand more about we should wear a mask or whatever. And there'd be a lot of us that go, no, didn't you hear that, the doctor saying that hydroxychloroquine, that's what we all need, right? So do we understand more? I think that we assume that more knowledge leads to more understanding. But Dr. Nito Qubein had a great challenge to our thinking on this today. He said, knowledge does not equal understanding. And I was taken aback by that at first, right? I mean, I was kind of, you got to be kidding. The more we know, the more we understand. And Charles, in some ways, yes, we become more confused. Janice, not according to your Facebook feed, right? Janice, I don't know if you saw it, those of you that follow me at my personal individual page on Facebook, but somebody came out with a seal, and it was the certified Facebook expert on communicable diseases in general medicine. The seal was the Facebook thumbs up sign. I love that. It was my Facebook seal of approval. Man, does it lead to more denial? That's a great question. That's a great point, right? I mean, knowledge doesn't equal understanding. And at first, you kind of think, well, wait a minute, of course it does, right? The more we know and the more we understand, the better off we are. It's better that way. But in fact, it doesn't. And as I thought about it, and as we discussed it, as Nito and Dan and Mark and Patricia Fripp and Naomi Rohde and others, participated and chimed in, here's what became clear. Knowledge is intellectual, right? Knowledge depends on intellect. We know something. So, you could even look at the virus. You could look at, scientists. I mean, not just the average person. Scientists centuries ago thought the world was flat. And then through science and discovery, they began to understand the world was round, right? So they knew the world was round. That was intellectual. That was baked in. The virus starts here. Now we're learning more. And we still don't know everything by a long shot, but whatever it might be. How does the economy respond in a pandemic? We're learning more. Knowledge is intellectual. Here's the difference. Understanding implies emotional engagement. Understanding, in part, is this emotional engagement. And look, you and I both know that there are some folks out there that just don't emotionally engage, or they just won't emotionally engage. Isn't that part of the challenge that we're facing right now? Is that we don't emotionally engage with another side, and therefore, while we might even think we know their position, we'll never truly understand it because we never emotionally engage with them. Now, whose fault is that? There's plenty of blame to go around, right? I mean, if I don't emotionally engage with someone with whom I disagree, I'll never truly understand. But they've got to be willing to have the emotional engagement as well, don't they? Right? I mean, one of the things I've said here forever is that, could you imagine if Ford came out with the advertising slogan, if you buy a Chevy, you're an idiot? Would that sell them any more cars? No. Why? Because Chevy owners that might be considering a Ford for their next car would go, what? You're calling me an idiot? Well, heck with you. I'm not going to buy your car. I'll just buy another Chevy. I'll show you. Right? And that's part of our problem in the world today, it seems to me, is that part of what's happening, and this is, I'm not talking about politics, although I think it works in that. And it's hard to talk about politics without somebody perceiving you as choosing one side or the other. I think this works for every side right now. Is basically they're saying, here's what we believe, and if you don't believe it, you're an idiot. So how does the caring aspect of understanding? So see what that means? It means that people don't understand their position. They might have knowledge about their position, but they won't understand their position because the emotional element and the caring, that factor isn't there. See, what it means is understanding means that we care, and that care is reciprocal. Why would I care to understand a group that has no desire that I care about them? Now, the answer there partly is altruism. You're doing something that you need to do. You're doing something you believe in. You're doing something for their good, and you can transcend that. But I think that is a great, and this morning's conversation really illuminated a lot of that for me, is that I think that's a lot of what our problem is that even the groups that we would like to understand a little more, if we don't feel like they care about whether or not we understand, makes it tough. Yeah, Donovan, we got to listen. We got to listen to each other. Yeah, we've got to listen and learn and grow, and that becomes a critical challenge. Sometimes there's groups, particularly with all the social changes going on right now. I would like to understand their positions a little better, but yet if they're like, if you haven't thought this way all along, you're awful, doesn't inspire a higher degree of understanding. I think we got to care a little more. I think we got to be concerned a little more. I think we got to connect a little more. By the way, this applies to our businesses as well. How many times a day on LinkedIn? Oh my Gosh, here's my hot button. All right. So on LinkedIn, it seems like every time I go on LinkedIn, there's 5 people saying we'd love to connect. And as soon as you connect with them, it's almost like you want to sit and go 1001, 1002, 1000 when the sales pitch comes. And why is that so off-putting to so many of us? It's because why do we care when they don't care? Why would I care about what you do and what you're selling when you obviously don't care about me? Or else in normal human relations, you begin by asking something, right? In normal human relations, I have 4 messages already today. Hey, Scott, how does Thursday look for you? Click here to access my calendar and we can talk about getting you more LinkedIn followers. Really? You're going to get me more LinkedIn followers because you're going to irritate them on behalf of me, just like you've irritated me. Will improve your SEO. Oh, great. Okay, wonderful, right? What do you know? How can you improve my search engine optimization without knowing anything about me to begin with? It drives me crazy. Oh, but it's a numbers game. Yeah, but you don't know all the numbers. You don't know how many people there are like me that as soon as you give me the sales pitch, I'm going to block it. You don't even get another chance. It requires that we care. The care is returned to us, but in so many cases, you got to go first. It's like the story you've heard me tell about the wood stove that Earl Nightingale used to tell, right? Picture the old fireplace, the old wooden stove. People sit in front of it these days and say, you know, if you'll give me some heat, then I'll put in some wood. It doesn't work that way. Like saying to your car, you know, you get me across the country on vacation, then I'll put in some gas for you. It doesn't work that way. You got to fill the tank first. You got to load the stove first. But yet so many of us, and I'm not talking about the people that's watching this, you know, a couple thousand folks that watch this every day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the average person out there. The person that's doing that on LinkedIn apparently has not a clue. They don't understand. They have the knowledge. They think, you know, if I do this many reach outs and if I, you know, spam this many people, I'll get this much return. I'll just keep that funnel, you know, but they don't understand about what it means to connect. You block them too, Janice? Yeah, it just, you don't get a second chance. See, if you're a sales professional, do you sit there and go, hey, I've got one shot. I'm going to spam everybody. And on that one shot, and if they don't buy it the first time, then the heck with them. Now, we've seen all the statistics. You can quote them. I mean, all the statistics about that most sales are made on, they're varying numbers, but the one I've seen the most is most sales are made on the 8th call. Problem is, most salespeople quit after the 4th. Well, if you get blocked after the first contact, I know what the likelihood is you're going to get a chance to make the 8th one to convert me. It's 0 if I block you after 1. Yeah, Brian, you're so right. And one of the points I made in Iconic, and you know, it's one of those I wish I would have even made stronger, is that it's the perception that becomes the reality, right? I mean, I talk in there about promise and performance, right? The customer will judge you on the promise you have made and then how you delivered on that promise. But the thing we can never forget is it's the customer's perception of the promise that we have made, right? Our perception of it is not what they're judging us on. The customer doesn't say, now, how did you perceive the promise that you made to me? Because I'm going to grade you on that. No, that's not what happens. It is that what they perceive the promise to be is what they will judge the performance upon. And if we've got to work harder than ever before for exactly what you say. There are so many uncaring people out there. Let me give you an example. If I say to you, car salesperson, what's the first image you got in your head if you're not in car sales? Yet I will tell you the finest sales professional I've ever dealt with in my life is a guy named Carl Nielsen, who is, or was until he retired, a car sales professional. Best salesperson I've ever in my life was around. And his job was what we often use as the stereotype of the person that doesn't care, just slick and hawks product. How we deliver makes all the difference. How you deliver makes all the difference. So as you think about your delivery, as you think about your communication, as you think about what you do, Nito Cobain had a great line today. He says he judges everything by 10, 10, 10. And I'm thinking, I'm thinking of the movie 10, right? That's an old one. But no, he was so brilliant on this. And it's funny because when Tammy and I got married and all of a sudden now I've got two stepsons, we always used to talk about the 1 year rule. 1 year from now, would it really matter? So in other words, if they found themselves at a party that they shouldn't be attending, would I be upset that there was drinking at the party? Yeah. But a year from now, that doesn't matter nearly as much as you made it home safely, right? So call me to come get you. I'm not saying I wouldn't be disappointed if you'd been drinking. Of course I would be. But a year from now, if I lost you in a car accident because you were afraid to call me, a year from now, if you had a DUI on your record because you didn't call me, that's powerful a year from now. So we always had the 12-month rule. What Nito has a variation on that. He calls it 10, 10, 10, right? 10, 10, 10. And that is, how will I feel about this 10 minutes from now? If I say yes to you, 10 minutes from now, will I be kicking myself in the tail going, man, I wish I would have, my calendar's so full, I don't have time, or 10 minutes from now, will I regret that I said no? How will I feel about this 10 minutes from now? How will I feel about this 10 months from now, which is kind of my 12-month year? But then he added that other dimension. How do I think I'll feel about this 10 years from now? If I don't do this, 10 years from now, will I be sorry? If I do this, how will people perceive me 10 years from now? So the 10, 10, 10 rule, I thought was very powerful, very, very good. Oh, Pam, I have met Barry. I don't know Barry, but yes, there's another example of a professional that does that. Yeah. If you listen to them, they perceive that you care. Brian, I love what you're writing here too about the blank piece of paper with no agenda. I think we've gotten so electronic that I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's in our DNA because it was done this way for centuries by the ancestors of our ancestors, or what it is, but there's something about taking that pen and putting it on paper. I mean, here's my notes from today. I got 4 of these just from our 2-hour meeting, and could I have typed it out? Of course I could have, but there's something, I don't know what there is. And I couldn't agree with you more. That's part of what we need to do, is to take that time and to write it down and to just, as my mentor Grady Nutt used to say, let our minds run barefoot for a little bit. I like that imagery. Let our minds run barefoot for a little bit to think about what we're doing and what's going on and how we can make it better. So I'm going to suggest to you that knowledge, first of all, knowledge isn't power, because as I've pointed out to Nito, if knowledge was power, places like High Point University would be the center of the universe, but it's not. It's the application of knowledge that's power. So we got to get out from our universities and apply it. But we also can't assume that knowledge leads to understanding, because it does not. Knowledge about a subject does not equal understanding about it, because knowledge is intellectual, but understanding requires that we care, and that we perceive that care as being returned to us. So let's make an effort to care more. That's how it's got to begin. Is that maybe you care about something that you don't know enough about. Maybe you care enough that you're going to gain some knowledge and try to care a little bit more. It's incredibly expanding in terms of how we feel, how we perceive, and what we do. As you might imagine, I'm going to remind you about the Ultimate Business Summit. It keeps getting closer. Good grief. This is the last August. What? It's 2 weeks from today. Holy cow. Sign up now. UltimateBusinessSummit.com. It's August 13th and 14th. It's $197 for a general admission ticket. VIPs get a night before cocktail reception and some sharing ideas. Get a very special VIP lunch with Simon Bailey, former Disney executive, leadership thought leader. VIPs get the video of the program. They get a transcript of the program, get extra Zoom calls, a lot of great stuff for VIPs. So but if you enter the coupon code Scott on your registration, you get $100 off, which means with a coupon, it's under $100 to attend. VIP is only $397. Just go to ultimatebusinesssummit.com. If you jumped on late, I'll remind you that Post-Pandemic Events is now open for registration. We'll have the big launch on Monday, but we opened up the cart because folks are wanting in. And it's for speakers, meeting professionals, financial advisors, sales professionals, anybody that's moving from belly-to-belly sales and face-to-face sales to virtual connections and all of that. So all you need to do is enter the code DISTINCT50, and because you're a viewer of Daily Distinction, you get $50 off the course there. So the challenge for us is to care a little bit more. It's the key to greater understanding. Post-pandemic interview about the intentions. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. It's complimentary. Charles, what this course is on more, and we're going to do some of the technical things like here's equipment that you should buy, but it's really trying to get our positioning right about how we think about this. And for me, the eye-opening part was that now when I'm doing virtual speeches and virtual keynotes, it's less about the talent as a speaker and more about what I learned from broadcasting. And you have to change how you present, and you got to change how you think. And so it's really taking you through that process. And when you first sign up in this first lesson, there's a couple things that you'll see really, really specific on how we do that. So I would hope it would be a compliment. It's not about the technical aspect of live streaming. It's more about how the technology has to change our thinking so we make better connections. We will talk about technology. We will talk about that, but it's really on how we got to change the way we think before we can ever change the way we meet. If we think we could do it the same old way, consider this. If you want to see what people assume is like broadcasting, go to public access television and watch that. None of us do, right? It's so boring. And so what has to happen is we've got to think like these people who are creating compelling meetings. People say, oh, we have Zoom fatigue. No, you don't. You got boring meeting fatigue. You got talking head fatigue. You've got somebody that doesn't have good video and good sound trying to talk, and that's what we're burned out with to a great degree. So this is to get us over that. My goodness, my favorite teacher ever is watching. You like that? I have such a difficult time saying Carol because this is Mrs. Oddie. If it's Mrs. Oddie when you're in school, it's Mrs. Oddie forever. But love you, Carol. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thanks, Charles. I appreciate you. You bet. Tammy's doing great and everything is good. Thank you, everybody, for taking time to be here today. As you know, on the weekends, we just do a quick check-in. So I will see you about this same time. I'll see you at the same time, 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific. I'll see you tomorrow for our abbreviated weekend version of Daily Distinction. Until then, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to checking in with you again tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for sharing the show, by the way. Sharing is caring, so thanks for sharing it out so other folks can see it. I'll look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.